Welcome back to On the News, On the Record with Buddy Cianci. My guest today is a guy who wants to be a U.S. Senator, Barry Hinckley. We're talking about, you were relating to the base closings, but we have a group in Washington that says that on entitlements, they should appoint some commission, probably people who are retired from public office to make the decisions as to what ought to be cut. What do you have to say about that?
Well, logically it makes sense, and I talk about this on the campaign trail a lot. The problem we have in Washington is pretty much every program, major program, wasn't designed by experts. It was designed by politicians, which is why most of them are failing or headed towards insolvency. You know, when I ran my business and I needed a retirement plan for my employees, I didn't design the retirement plan, I called Fidelity. So, you know, the idea of bringing in experts to solve the problem is good.
The government brings in experts to do the nitty-gritty, don't they?
But then it gets political, right? It starts, you know, and then it becomes this political football, and then it becomes favoritism.
Let's go down the list. Afghanistan. President doing the right thing?
You know, I believe Winston Churchill was right 100 years ago. It's unwinnable there. That culture is so old and so entrenched. They are not going to adopt our American way of life. We need to find a way to gracefully exit that region.
If you were in office today, would you be advocating, let me just go down the list, you pro-choice, pro-life?
I'm pro-choice.
Pro-choice, okay. You're a Republican Liberty wing of the party, you're a pro-choice candidate. Do you think that'll hurt you with the conservative wing of the Republican Party?
You know, that is a very important issue, and I understand the issue very well for a lot of people, and I'm assuming that, you know, there's some people that aren't going to vote for me because of that. You know, that.
Let's go down the line, defense of marriage. The Obama administration says they're not going to defend the Defense of Marriage Act any longer. We just passed civil unions in Rhode Island. How do you feel about the Defense of Marriage Act?
Well, the funny thing is the biggest loser of that is the IRS, right? Because, you know, when a married couple can, you know, when one person dies, they can pass it, you know, tax-free to the other. I think the government probably is going to be concerned about the revenue loss of that eventually. But, you know, first and foremost, gay people are American. First and foremost, everyone has a gay relative or a gay friend that I know. And you got to remember, as Americans, we all enjoy certain rights under the Constitution. And one of those rights is the right to enter into a contract, a civil contract with another.
Getting more than a moderate a Republican than a right-wing conservative. You're kind of more toward, you know, you're not totally to the left as your opponent is, White House, but you're more of a moderate Republican. Yeah. You're kind of a John Chafee kind of Republican in a way.
You find a lot of New Englanders, Rhode Islanders, that are fiscally conservative and socially moderate.
Like, and that's what you are.
That's what I am.
So you should have said that when I asked you at the top of the show. I said, "What do you call yourself?"
Well, I'm learning stuff from you every day, buddy.
You're kind of a moderate Republican, is what you are.
I'm a very moderate Republican, yeah.
But you on the fiscal side are more conservative.
I'm very conservative fiscally. I believe in simple things like balancing the books, spending what you earn.
Let's get into Social Security. They say that there's enough money right now. There's more money coming in than there's paying out in Social Security, but eventually it'll hit a wall. How do you feel about how should the Social Security problem be solved? People are living longer. It's going to break someday. What is your solution?
Well, first of all, we have to look at what the problem is. You know, I have Sheldon Whitehouse on tape a couple weeks ago at a town hall event saying that there's a multi-trillion-dollar surplus. And then yesterday on the radio, or 2 days ago on the radio, no, yesterday on the radio, he said that if we don't raise the budget, the debt ceiling, the checks are going to stop going out. So if there's a surplus, why are checks going to stop going out? Well, actually, there isn't. And the real problem with Social Security, one of the real problems, is that, you know,
since the government's been using its Social Security money for other
since
things.
1968, when Lyndon Johnson borrowed that money to pay for the Vietnam War, they never looked back. They kept spending that money. So unfortunately, there's no money in Social Security. Now, actuarially, we can fix it. And I like the Tip O'Neill-Reagan model. You know, and I think it was 83, when they got together and they said, listen, we got a problem with Social Security. We're going to have to raise the retirement age. They got together, you know, Democrat, Republican, and they did, and they solved the problem. It's relatively easy to fix Social Security by understanding that people are living longer, and we can't afford to, you know, support them under this system, you know, for X amount of years. We need to raise retirement age.
Without using the name Ronald Reagan, okay, because you've referred to him a couple of times, who would be your political role model?
There's a young guy from Utah, a new senator named Mike Lee. We don't match up on all the social issues, but I really respect what he's doing from a liberty Republican point of view, which is he's really focused on a smaller, more efficient federal government and more state rights. I really look up to that guy. I've met with him. I like him a lot.
So you feel that the state should have more rights. Now, the state of Rhode Island has its own problems, a high unemployment rate, a budget that was just passed, but who knows if it can be managed, and if we slip into another recession, which is possible.
Oh, yeah.
Inflation going up, value of the
Another
dollar going
recession,
down.
20% unemployment isn't a
Well,
recession?
the country I'm talking about. If something doesn't get worked out in the next few days, in Washington, we'll see a real disastrous effect on this country, I would imagine. But in your opinion, how can a United States senator be more effective in Rhode Island? I know you got to address the national issues,
Right?
You know, inflation and all the kinds of things, and maybe that's got your hands full there. But what about Rhode Island? What can a U.S. senator do for Rhode Island? Many people say, well, bring the bacon home, but you don't want to spend money, so there won't be a lot of bacon to bring home.
Well,
so how can
there
you
is
be
no more
effective?
bacon.
How can you be effective as a United States senator for a Rhode Islander as far as Rhode Island issues are concerned?
Well, you got to lead by example. And if you look at your congressional delegation, your governor, Speaker of the House here, both on the Senate and the House side, Senate President, those are the political leaders. Some are state, some are federal. You got to lead by example. You know, the fish rots from the head down. And what you're seeing in Providence today is a lot of bad governing by overpromising and overtaxing. Yeah, right. But, you know, Sheldon Whitehouse is cut from that same cloth. So, you know, if you put a fiscally conservative Republican at a high-profile, high-impact position like U.S. Senate, I can constantly shine a light from this bully pulpit on what's going on in Smith Hill. And we really do need to turn around Smith Hill, because this state was just rated the worst state in America to do business. The worst. We're in last place, buddy. We are a last place team. We have to turn it around, and I can do that by leading from the top.